Dawn of Man, the Stone Age simulator from developer Metro Goldworks, burst onto Steam a few weeks ago, and is still floating near the top of the Steam charts. After a few weeks managing the game's launch, Metro Goldworks, Martino Figueroa was kind enough to drop by the DD Twitch channel for a chat about the design and development of Dawn of Man. If you are curious how a three-person studio, based out of Spain, with a team of international contractors, could scrap together a simulation game that catches players' attention, you can now watch the full QA with Figueroa in the video above. If you are a small developer, hoping to make a unique game that succeeds on Steam, the back half of the chat includes a discussion about the low-energy YouTube marketing campaign Metro Goldworks used to generate Steam wishlists, and far more curated BG talks and developer interviews. Be sure to follow the DD Twitch channel at the 2019 Game Developers Conference. You can look forward to an array of talks from speakers across the video game industry. During the week, you will hear from industry legends, niche experts, and amazing advocates, many of whom will want to learn about you and your work as much as you do theirs. At this year's show, King Narrative Design lead Tracy John will be in an array of sessions, all designed to help writers and designers tell better stories both big and small in video games. John's had a long career in UX, writing, and more, so we wanted to pick her brain about her experience and what she will be talking about at DD this year. If you are a writer, or just someone who works in games that need narrative, you can now read John's full QA down below. Would you please introduce yourself and talk about your role in game development? I am Tracy John, the studio lead of narrative design at King Stockholm Studio. I oversee all the narrative designers and the narrative design work across all the games in the studio. I also act as the lead narrative designer on several projects. The narrative design craft at King entails working closely with the teams to create stories, characters, dialogue, text, lore, and other narrative elements for our games. We are the narrative evangelists, championing story and context, and ensuring that all the narrative elements are cohesive and engaging for our players. Without spoiling it, what will you be talking about at DD? I am really fortunate to be doing 3 sessions this year. In storytelling in small spaces, practical narrative design for mobile games, I will be talking about how narrative designers at King work together with different disciplines to give narrative context to our games, as well as how we try to optimize narrative opportunities. In a post-mortem on releasing Candy Crush Friends Saga, I will join my King colleagues Jeremy Kang and Robert McKenzie as they talk about design and art direction for the game. My portion will be about how we retrofitted a narrative universe to the Candy Crush Saga franchise, and the ways we implemented some of those elements in Friends. And finally, in how to get a job writing for games, I will join Zach Garris from Deck 9 Games, where we will share some advice on the application process, interviewing, and how you can succeed once you land a job. What excites you most about the future of game development? Every year, I am astonished and delighted by all the different kinds of games that are released, as well as the growing diversity of people who make and play them. As the people who make games becomes more and more diverse, I believe the stories that will be told will become more innovative, thought-provoking, and compelling. Narrative design is not just about writing words, it's about creating a world for your players. To build an engaging and cohesive game world, narrative design should be a part of everyone's role. What's something about your specific field you want your colleagues to know more about? I worked on King's newest game, Candy Crush Friends Saga, and I am very lucky and proud to have worked with all the talented team members to bring the world of Candy Crush and its characters to life in 3D. There are still a lot of narrative opportunities to flesh out in the game, and I cannot wait to bring more characters and stories to players in future updates. Photo via Tracy John's website. Bring your team to VD. Register a group of 10 or more and save 10% on conference passes. Learn more. For more details on GDC 2019 visit the show's official website. Or subscribe to regular updates via Facebook, Twitter, OS. Gamasutra and DD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. Game Design Deep Dive is an ongoing Gamasutra series with the goal of shedding light on specific design features or mechanics within a video game, in order to show how seemingly simple, fundamental design decisions are not really that simple at all. Check out earlier installments in the action based RPG situational awareness and player frustration grip, and the capital ship investment that star. Also, dig into ever-growing deep dive analysis reminded features on everything from rocket jumping in Rocket Legato Dying Light's natural movement system. I am a games designer with 10 years experience in the industry. I used to work at Frontier Developments with Ole Devine, but we left at the beginning of last year to start our own studio. Our first project is a cooperative cooking game called Overcooked, which released on August 3rd. A Rex 1, PlayStation 4 and Windows PC. A lot of games seem to add co-op mode as an afterthought. We played lots of games where co-op simply meant to have twice and twice as many enemies, and they almost always devolved into a race to see who could kill the next enemy or grab the next job. With Overcooked, we wanted to make a game where cooperation was a central pillar, a game which was much more focused on how the team works together rather than simply adding more players to a single-player experience. I want to talk through the development process for the game, calling out some of the key decisions we made and the challenges we faced developing a game which actually required players to cooperate. When we started the project, before we had landed on the concept of a kitchen, of cooking, we knew we wanted to make the game about cooperation. There are lots of games which allow players to work as a team, but more often than not the focus is on the skills and abilities of the individuals rather than how good the team is at communicating or coordinating their behavior. I have worked in various restaurants over the years, earned my stripes spot washing and bussing tables, and kitchens have always struck me as a perfect analogy for a cooperative game, an occupation where teamwork, time management, spatial awareness and shouting are all vitally important. But how do you encourage players to work together, and how do you make that a fun experience? Prototype. Cooperation is about realizing you can achieve much more as a team than you ever could on your own. As in a real kitchen, time is one of the most important elements in our game we have to play with. The premise is simple. You have to try and deliver orders as quickly as you can or you risk upsetting your customers. You can choose to perform more actions yourself, but you quickly learn that by sharing the workload you can drastically reduce the time it takes to achieve your goal. It's a very simple metric which players are always quick to pick upon. Many hands make light work. So our initial prototypes focused on the most basic example of this we could think of. Players were challenged to pick a pan ingredient, take it to a chopping board, add it to a plate and then serve. If they served the dish before the time ran out, they would not lose a life. As a player, when you started the level you had a choice. You could either carry the ingredient all the way around Essential Divide, or you could save time by passing it across the counter so your teammate could chop it for you. It's extremely simple, but in many ways, that example is at the center of our game's design. We kept the controls deliberately simple. One button to pick up, one button to interact, and a thumbstick to move. We discussed giving chefs different stats. Chefs who were faster at chopping, or chefs who could move more quickly. But again, we wanted the game to be more about how the team works together, so we decided to keep all players on a level playing field.